We're finally starting to see a little bit of red from Solana and Kaspa after weeks and weeks of green. And so in today's video, I want to give you an update of what we should be looking out for when it comes to Sol and when it comes to Kas and how I'm actually going about it. And so with that said, we're not going to waste any more time at all, and we're going to get straight into today's video, starting off with Kaspa. So what we've been monitoring over the last couple of days with Kaspa is the fact that it is now starting to struggle a little bit more than it was throughout this entire run. You can see here, right, that this thing has pretty much just been on the up and up. You know, we did have this little pullback, this little consolidationary moment here, but realistically, I mean, this thing has just been going straight up. But once we did finally break out of this ascending structure in which it has been in for multiple months, upwards of almost a year and a half now, we are now starting to see it slow down, and we are starting to see the resistance actually kicking in. Now, this is very similar to what we did see back here, right? And this is why I warned you all. The moment we broke to the outside of this channel, I warned you. I said, look, you're not usually supposed to break out of a channel to the upside like this. That just usually doesn't happen. And when you do, you have to be careful, because sometimes it only lasts a temporary amount of time before we eventually do get pulled back into the downside, right? And so with that in mind, that's why I am becoming more and more cautious about Kaspa. Not to say that it can't continue, because it definitely can. I don't see a reason as to why we can't break that 16-17 cent level. I just understand that the further this thing goes, the more likely it becomes that it will get that more macro pullback to the downside eventually, right? And so what I'm looking at right now with Kaspa, the main thing that I'm paying the most amount of attention to is what is actually happening at this key level right at 0.138 or 13.8 cents. Okay, what you can see happening here is that we've actually put in a closing double top. Now, not a full double top, because obviously we've wicked above it here, we wicked above it here, but if you look at where we're closing, we've put in a closing double top at this level, meaning that we keep closing below it on two separate occasions. Now, whenever you start to get signs of a double top, that is a good indicator that, well, there could be some possible danger lurking. Now, do we really want to call it danger after this thing is up hundreds of percentages? No, not really. Is it a big deal? No, not really. It might just pull back. Who really cares? It's been doing amazing. But at the end of the day, what we do need to watch out for very closely is what does happen following this, so we know what we can be expecting. So at this given point, as we are putting in this closing double top, we have also started to get some key indicator here, or key indication, sorry, on our chart prime oscillator. What you can see here is that we did get this consistent rally of overbought boxes. Overbought, up until right here. This exact moment, all of these warnings up until this exact moment, which was the moment in which we did see Kas's price fall from this top to this low 24%. So that was obviously a good warning coming from the chart prime oscillator. Now, not only that though, after this pullback, as we are looking to put in this double top here, this closing double top, we're getting a strong drive of bearish divergence here on the 4-hour charts, now being confirmed with a blue peak finder, and a blue peak finder is usually an indication that we're at a peak and that a pullback is likely on the way. And so with this in mind, considering the fact that, again, we're getting all of this indication here from our chart prime oscillator, we're getting this double top reading here from Kaspa's price structure, it just tells me that we need to be cautious. Now, you may say, Tyler, what do we need to be cautious of? Well, what I would say we need to be cautious of is the ascending support that we are currently seeing right now, okay? This ascending support from this channel that we had been in, again, for over a year. Because the reason why this is going to be so important is because if a point in time comes, especially before we break 13.8, okay, so before we break this level, that we are actually able to lose to the bottom side, lose support here of what was this ascending level of resistance, which is now an ascending level of support. If we lose that level, we have also lost what we call the MLS. What is an MLS? The MLS is the mid-level support. Mid-level support means whenever you're making a double top, okay, this is what a double top looks like, okay, this level, the mid-level of support. Quite simple, okay? And so what we have here is an MLS currently sitting at right around 11.2, okay? And if Kas at any given point now comes back down to lose this ascending support, it has now also lost the MLS. And in situations in which we lose the MLS, your breakdown target from that double top here is the distance between your top to your MLS. And that puts Kas in a position in which it could fall all the way back down towards 9 cents. 9 cents is actually the exact price target that indicates, giving us a retest back to this previous macro high, which isn't all that out of the question. That is a reasonable move to assume could happen. And so with that in mind, mind, being that this would indicate a possible correction of upwards of, let's go ahead and call it 20%, I think it is something we need to watch out for, okay? And so with that in mind, I'm not saying this is a definite, I'm just giving you a scenario that you need to be careful of, because if we do lose support here, right, if we do lose this ascending support and re-enter into this channel, it is extremely likely that we do get a more macro pullback, and I think that could be upwards of 20 to 25% to the downside, okay? And so with that in mind, the best case scenario is here we bounce off of this level, or we maintain some support here, and we continue up through 13.8, and we start to push towards 16 to 17 cents. That's well within the realm of possibilities, especially as we are seeing this chart prime oscillator correct, right? But what we have to understand is that the further up we go, the more likely it becomes that the pullback will happen, and the pullback could be now if we lose 11-12. So now with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about what Solana's doing. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about some of my alpha plays like we usually do in these videos. Now, as many of you know, I'm under the belief that meme coins, microcaps, a lot of these smaller cryptos are probably going to be what rallies next within this market. It's very cyclical. And so because of that, as I have been taking profits off of some of my bigger holdings like Solana and Kaspa and XRP, I have been funneling them and pushing them into some of my microcaps just to kind of see if I can keep compounding that growth. And so with that in mind, I wanted to actually tell you about today's sponsor that I actually did invest some of my own money into, some of the profits that I took from some of the bigger cryptos, just to see if I can hit another little lottery ticket here. And of course, today we are talking about HEHE.to. Now, this is your typical classic meme coin, okay? They are taking the raise approach, in which they have a multi-rounded raise, which is something that has become very popular recently that has been seeing a lot of success. Now, basically, the way in which this was formed was off of Elon Musk's tweet back in December 14th of 2020, very similar to how we saw Pepe, for example, go from just being a meme that was all over Twitter to actually becoming a crypto that ended up $1 billion crypto. They're trying to take that same approach. While you take a meme, you take a pretty notable meme, turn it into a crypto, have a raise, build some hype, build some excitement, spend some money on marketing, and then try to blow that thing up to multi-million, multi-hundred million, or billion-dollar meme coin. And so in order to do this, they are doing, again, as I said, a multi-rounded raise, currently at $8.087 million USDT raised, and they plan on launching this token. And when they do plan on launching the token, they plan on implementing a ton of different aspects and turn this into a full ecosystem. You can see here some of the things that they have in mind and that they want to build is obviously Monster Go, which will be allowing you to join trainers around the world and play Monster Go together in new and exciting ways, a DeFi yield protocol, and Monster Universe. And so by doing things like this, it does kind of build the name, build the brand of HEHE, which is so funny to say. And texting people, telling them about HEHE, they think I'm laughing when I text them. It's hilarious. But at the end of the day, it is one of those meme coins that if they do approach this correctly, I do think that it can have some success. And so obviously that is why I did bring them on the channel today. Now, they are currently doing an airdrop for over $336,000, in which they're giving away that much worth of HEHE tokens split between 666 lucky degens in a very generous airdrop. You can enter below and make sure you're in it to win it. And of course, in order to do that, the steps are really simple. You can see them all on their website. So with that in mind, I just wanted to let you know about one of the ones that I personally am going to throw some of my profits into just to kind of see what happens. So of course, thank you HEHE for sponsoring today's video, and well, let's get back to the video. All right, so moving forward, let's talk about what Solana is doing and where its price is at. Now, in the last video that I made, which was just yesterday, I told you all to be extremely careful of this $57 to $54 level. I told you all that there was a decent chance that we could bounce off of this level and continue to the upside, but if we do lose this level, we're headed towards 51. And if we lose 51, we're likely headed back to 47, right? It's going to be a staircase, and I do think that it could be a rather easy one to predict because, again, at the same time, we would now be establishing our first lower low on the macro scene that we've established realistically since, I would say, the first macro low that we've established since probably this pullback, right? In October 9th, back here. This was the first one that we've established since here. We've not really established any lower lows since then, okay? And so that would be very important. So what I want to do is just update you and show you how that's going and what we could be expecting now. So over the last 24 hours, Solana tried its best to bounce off of this key level of support, but it failed to do so. We weren't even able to re-clear this key level of resistance here, and we got forced back down into this $57 to $54 range. Now, at this given point, we are seemingly attempting to put in a double bottom down here. If you can look at this on the hourly charts, that's what it looks like to me. You can see this and then this. And so obviously, if we're capable of working our way back above $59 right now, I think we're in a good position to continue, right? Use this double bottom on this key Fibonacci support level to continue to the upside. I think that would work really well. But at this given point, that's not what's happening just yet. What's happening is we're still being forced within this level, and we are struggling to break out of it. And when you're struggling to break out of it, obviously the risk here is that you will get the break to the downside. So the question then becomes, okay, well, if we're still looking to hold this level of support and it's still a possibility, what's our chart prime oscillator doing now? Well, what we can see here is that our chart prime oscillator has now confirmed, okay, that bearish divergence that I mentioned yesterday. So as you can see here, we had the high, the lower high, the high, the higher high. That's a key signal of bearish divergence, just meaning that as the price is climbing, it's losing momentum. And considering that this is that did happen while we are struggling to hold some support here, it tells me, ooh, okay, yeah, we need to be a little bit careful. Although Solana definitely can hold this level of support, the odds are slowly starting to stack against it to actually successfully hold support, and that's something we need to be careful of. The saving grace here, though, is that this 4-hour chart prime oscillator, for example, is very, very low. I mean, this thing's sitting at that 49% threshold, which means that even if we do get a pullback towards, $51 or $47, we're likely to have fully reset to the downside here and could very easily or very well continue back to the upside afterwards, okay? So even if we do get a pullback here, which I'm not saying is a guarantee, but I'm saying it is very possible, I think that it would be max, before we get some type of stronger drive back up towards the upside, maybe 7 to 12%, which isn't really all that bad considering the fact that Solana's up hundreds of percentages, right? And so what I would be careful of right now is I would personally stop buying. That's what I'm going to actually do, is stop buying while we're sitting between this $54 and $57 range. I just think it's too risky. I'd rather know that we're going to make a drive to the upside or that I can get better buying opportunities to the downside. I think this is just a 50-50 wasteland right here, and it's just not the best time to be buying, okay? So watch very closely. I would say at this given point, whichever side we break out of first is going to be the main indicator. I would say if you really, really want to go long, I'm at least letting this thing clear $59, clear this key level of resistance up here, get above 59, and we're probably going to make a run back up to 68. Okay, I think it'd be really possible to at least come retest this high range up here, so that could be a decent long trade. Or what you could do is allow this thing to break $54 first, allow it to hit this $51 level to $47 level, this little range here, and then open up long trades with stop losses below $47 to try to capitalize on what could be the rebound to the upside, okay? So that's kind of the way that I would be playing it. I don't really think now is the best time to be buying, and I am kind of in my cautious zone just because, again, I do think that we're in a position in which we very well could lose support and see a 12% pull to the downside here, very similar to Solana, or Kaspa, sorry. So with that in mind, that's about it. I just wanted to update you guys and let you know what we were seeing from this perspective on Solana, on Kaspa. I'm still holding them. I'm still buying them, over the long term. This isn't really all that worrisome in the long term, but in the short term, 10, 15, 20% pullbacks are likely, especially as we continue in this direction. And so with that said, that is about it for today's video. Of course, I hope you guys did like all the TA, the alpha plays. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I hope you have a great weekend. Peace out, everybody.